All right. So we're going to make a little... I need to learn to look at the camera. So this is going to be our first actual person video upload to YouTube. So, we're in the shop tonight. My name's Cody Nobbs. I own NNF Performance in North Lewisburg, Ohio. Let me refocus this off to kneel down. I own NNF Performance in North Lewisburg, Ohio, and tonight we're finishing putting together the short block for our twin turbo 5.3 Camaro. So I'll post some video. I'll get some video footage and stuff of the Camaro, and we're gonna get the whole short block together. We're getting ready to put the last piston in it. So I want to show everybody how we do our piston procedure with filing the rings and how we're going to install. These are a Total Seal gapless AP set. Top gapless ring from Total Seal. Total Seal recommended for our application. It's a E85 stock bottom end Gen 4 5.3 liter LM7 iron block motor. It's got street fill in the block, stock bore, stock piston, everything. So I want to put a really nice ring set in this thing, so we're going to push it really hard. So twin S366 cast, super simple setup. Holly up and forward, 1 7/8 turbo headers. We're going to build the turbo kit here in house. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to finish getting the bottom end together tonight, and then I've got to do some port work on the heads and stuff. I'm going to send them out and get them decked, and have the valves done on them and stuff. Probably have a bigger set of intake valves, put in them 2-inch set of LS1 valves probably. So anyway, I want to show you guys the process that we do to gap valve or gap rings here, and then installing this AP gapless ring set on these Gen 4 pistons. And yeah, so I'm just going to take you along. I'm not going to edit or chop or cut this video. It's just going to be what it is. So let's get started here. Over here is our beautiful aluminum silver painted Gen 4 5.3. So right here I have an AP. You can see that groove machined in the ring right there. This is the top ring. This is the rail. So this sits 180 degrees inside of that machined groove, and that ring's gap is down, or that rail's gap is down here. So that actually sits inside of this machined groove and makes that a gapless ring. So, and then it has a standard second compression ring. Okay, the standard second compression ring has a tapered edge on the inside bottom here. Well, actually, that's the top. Sorry, you can see the little nipple right there indicating that's top. On the bottom edge right here, you can see it in the video a little bit right there. There's a chamfered edge right there. So, and then we got the oil control ring, which is basic, normal oil control ring. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead, get our other piston out, which I'm gonna pause this real quick and clean this piston. All right, so what we're gonna do, since we don't have a tool for setting the ring square in the bore, we use the piston. So on this top ring, we're gonna go ahead and test fit this top compression ring and check gap on it. Cylinder 7. And it overlaps. I can't even get it to lay, so there's no sense in grabbing the piston. So I'm gonna come over here. We got this handy dandy diamond sharpener from Harbor Freight, and we use the gap rings. It's actually pretty nice, makes quick work of it. I've got a hand crank one over there too from Jags. That was $58. This machine was 48 bucks from Harbor Freight. So I've got a hand crank one mounted on my cart over here, but we're going to use this. We need to be 28 thousandths gap on this ring, so we're going to have to take quite a bit off this ring. The big thing you want to make sure you do when you're doing this is pay attention to the ring, especially on a machine like this that isn't made for doing the ring. You can't square the ring in the machine and drop it in like a real ring filer. It costs $300, $400, $500. You gotta look at that ring and make sure that ring is square. So as that ring gets bigger in the bore and goes to butt up, the gap is square gap. So we're gonna go ahead and check that. Got this thing on the top of my toolbox. Top of my toolbox is a mess. I'll drop this in here like so. Make sure our ring is square in the bore, so we're getting a true measurement. We're not cocked one way or the other. Now also, so we'll use a feeler gauge here, and I don't have a 28 thousandths feeler gauge, it's 26. So what I'm doing is I'm actually filing it to where this is a little sloppy inside the ring. So I'm going to check this gap. And that gap is still extremely tight. I can't even get 26 thousandths in it. So I'll go over here and cut a little bit more. I'm going to check it again. You don't want to just, when you file rings, you don't want to just file them all in one cylinder, because every cylinder could be a thou or half a thou. I'm not a machinist, so I couldn't tell you exactly what the tolerance variance is, but every cylinder, that's perfect. There's our 28 thousandths. So you want to file fit these to every single cylinder. That way you don't have any kind of variation. So when you put these rings in the block on the piston, what happens is when you get heat in the cylinder, this end gap will start closing. So as you get heat in the cylinder, the ring expands. And the only thing the ring can do is get longer. It can't go out because it's against cylinder bore, so the ring has to get longer. So as the ring gets longer, it closes this end gap. And when it gets to the point where it closes the end gap and butts it, that's what we call butting a ring, this ring will fuse. It'll immediately weld together, and then it'll seize the cylinder wall and rip the ring land off top piston. So this top part of the piston here, between the top groove of the piston for the ring and this, is called the land of the piston. So it'll rip this top piece off the piston here. So this actually checked out. This is good. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to dip this down a little bit here. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a file. You can take a little piece of sandpaper or something, do the same thing. There's an edge on this ring now for me cutting it. Okay, there's a little rough edge there. I want to knock that little edge off. Don't need to be real aggressive, just let the file do the work. I run my finger across there and feel like that's smooth. There's no longer edge there. Because what will happen is when these rings will float in these grooves. And what will happen when that ring's floating in there, that little edge will get snagged and the ring will get stuck and it won't want to move freely, and then you can end up going on the cylinder wall, or that ring gets stuck and then the second ring is dancing around and it comes to where the gaps line up and you got blow by issues, things of that nature. We don't want none of that. So we're going to go ahead and clean up the end of these rings. What's nice about this little square file is that machine groove, a square file gets that edge right there on that machine groove too. That's going to have a little bit of a step on it, so you're not in here with a little piece of sandpaper trying to do this. I usually use sand like a 320 or something like that and clean these up that way. But since this has that machined lip on it, it's nice. That machined lip, this file sits right against the edge. Here we go, hold on. Right against the edge of that machined lip right there, and then also takes that edge off that machined lip. So I can feel that. That's smooth. So that guy checks out. Got a little edge on the inside right here. We'll get that off there. Like I said, we want these rings to float freely on the piston. We don't have any binding or issues of that nature. There we go, nice and clean. So now we're going to get this guy. I want to make sure this machined edge is clean nice too, because I also want the rail to float inside the ring like it's supposed to too. So it won't necessarily float, it'll stay pretty well put, but I want it to be able to move freely and do its job too. I don't want there to be any binding with this piston ring against those cylinder walls or those pistons. What was nice, so I had M&M in Delaware does all our machine work on our blocks. And they did the machine work on this. We're assembling it clearly. They street filled the block for me. It didn't make any sense for me to drop it off and have Mike hot tank it and put cam bearings in it and do all this other crap to it. And then me pick it up and bring it home and street fill it. And then take it back and then let him hone it. Because when the hardener sets up inside the block, and I'll show you guys that here in a minute too, when that happens, what happens then is it moves the bores around just a skosh. So when the bores get moved around a skosh, you run into the issue of needing. Let me go ahead and get you. The bores move. Let me move some crap off top still buff. Jesus Christ. When the bores move around a skosh, that's when you want to hone it. You don't want to hone it before you fill it, and then fill it and the bores move around a skosh. So it was nice. This thing is a 186,000 mile Z71 Suburban motor. And now we're going to check the rail. We got to gap the rail too. The rail's got to be gapped at 28 thousandths. So it's a 186,000 mile Z71 Suburban motor. Came out of an 06 Suburban. I bought the truck with no third gear. It wouldn't even attempt the third gear shift, so I was hopeful when I paid $600 for this really nice looking 06 Suburban. I was hopeful that I was going to take this thing home and put a solenoid in it and it was going to shift. Well, as soon as I pulled the trans pan off, those hopes went away pretty quick. So, yep, need to make that guy a little bigger. So those hopes went out the window. But, long story short here, bought the Suburban, was going to put a trans in it, flip it. I paid $600 for it, so you throw a trans in it, and you know I might have had $1,000 in it, $400 for a used 4L60, and you know I could have got $5,500 out of the thing or something. It was really nice, all leather, Bose sound. It was a nice truck. So, but I never had time to put trans in it, so I parted it out. I ended up making a couple $1,000s on it, parting it out, and you know, $3,000, something like that. Kept the engine, kept the transmission, kept the transfer case. I actually still have a transfer case sitting over there. Or no, I think I might have sold a transfer case out of Z71, but I got more transfer cases over there. But kept the engine, kept transmission, kept some front end parts off of it, some miscellaneous stuff, some interior stuff, which I still have, taillights and stuff for it, years later. And I decided this engine was going to be for the Camaro. So, yeah. So when we put the filler in the block, see if we can get a little picture here, what the filler looks like down in here. It's hard to do the camera thing and look in the block. Yep, right there's where we need to be. Okay. You might be able to see it in there. There's filler in that block. The bottom of that water pump hole right here. So the filler in the block is like this, even with the deck. The filler in the block's even with the deck, and it's up to the bottom of the water jacket. Most of the heat in your motor will be in the top parts of cylinders and in cylinder heads. So this is still, for guys that have advanced knowledge, this is still going to be a wet deck block. It's not a dry deck. When we put an aluminum motor together, I got an LC9 sitting over there that we're going to put together, forged pistons, forged rod, crank. We're going to do the whole deal here, and then we'll probably upgrade turbos if this thing doesn't run how it needs to run. We'll eventually upgrade to the aluminum motor, take weight off. I couldn't find an aluminum motor in my budget at the time, so that didn't happen. But anyway, I'm getting way off topic here. So, 186,000 mile motor. When we did the street fill in the block, it shifted the bores around just enough to where we could put the bores back to stock spec with a hone and ready to rock and roll. So this thing's going to be nice and fresh. We're going to go ahead and get the camera back on the motor here. And then I'm going to file this ring real quick. And it wasn't too far off. And it's a pretty thin ring. It's just a rail. So I have to take a whole bunch off of it. It's probably good, or maybe a little too much. Got my piston here, my ring squarer. Oh, Oh yeah. Yeah, it's probably closer to 29 or 30 thou. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing here. Take this little edge off of the file. Make sure we don't have no binding or nothing. We also want to make sure we're not, this thing's probably fine, it's a rail. But like the rings, we don't want to twist the rings like that. So I've got a ring installer here, I'll show you here in a second. For guys that twist on piston rings. You know, a lot of piston rings are pretty brittle. And when you spiral a piston ring onto a piston, you run a chance of weakening it and making it crack and break. So if you ever spiraled a ring on and then had a motor you put together, old small block or something, big cast ring or something like that in it, and you put that motor together and you broke a ring, and you're like, oh, these piece of shit piston rings, you spiraled that ring on there, buddy. You probably asked for that whole deal there. You were playing with fire, and you got bit. I don't claim to be some professional engine builder. I'm not Steve Morris. I'm not what is it, Tim or Tom Nelson or something like that. I watched some of his stuff, some of Steve Morris' stuff too, on the old YouTuber here, and you know, I'm not claiming to be any of those dudes, but I do have a little bit of experience putting motors together, and you do your job correctly, you ain't got nothing to worry about here. So let's get these piston rings put on. Alright, we had to take a small intermission there in the middle of getting ready to put this ring on. So let's go ahead and put this ring on. So we're going to put this right here. This is called a piston ring expander. So I can install piston rings and put this in here. Okay. Alright, let's take a peek at our directions here real quick. So this beautiful little sheet here from Total Seal. This is front of engine. Okay, so our piston encasing point here in the LS has a dot on the front. Alright, and it says top compression ring gap goes right there. Second compression ring gap goes here. Now what it also explains in the directions more over here, it tells you that when you put the rail on, the rail needs to be 180 degrees from the gap on the compression ring. So, dot, we're going to install the ring like so, expand it, put it in the groove, drop her in there. There's our ring. Now we're going to grab our compression rail, or our top ring rail, and it's going to be 180 degrees. So we're going to come over here on the opposite side of the piston, and we are going to spiral this bad boy in there. Little flimsy thing we got here. We're going to be very gentle about it though. And wham. We're going to check. We're not quite 180 degrees, so we're going to move some stuff here. That's an issue I keep having with these rails. The last one went pretty smooth, surprisingly. Considering I put 6 of these pistons in months ago, and I'm just now getting around finally to putting the other pistons in it, because I suck. Because I'm a busy business owner, ain't got time to do none of my own stuff, and I've got another project car I've been playing with. Obviously, this is Central Ohio Street Channel. We plan on doing a lot of fun activities next year and good share of racing. This car will hopefully, got a little mark on the side of my piston here. This car will hopefully be out next year and about. We do have a Cavalier. Clearly, it's on the picture of our channel. That is our main squeeze currently. And I've been part collecting for that bad boy. So we haven't really been doing a whole lot of work to that car, been daily driving it. So we're going to go ahead and check our second compression ring. I can tell right off bat that thing's way too tight. So I don't even need to square it in the bore. We're going to come over here and take a couple licks at it. Come over here and check her. I had a pretty good, now that top ring, wham, makes this all nice and square in there. On the piston, that's pretty nice once you get that guy on there. I had a pretty good system going. Man, look at that. Last time when I put these other rings in here, we're gonna file again here. After you do so many of them, it's like, okay, I pretty much know how much I need to grind on every ring. They're all pretty close. It's a pretty, this piston ring set's $300 and some. You know, this isn't, you know, a plasma Molly piston ring set. It costs $48 from Rock Auto, which is what we've run in engines before. I know a lot of guys report that around 900 horse or so, boosted application, or nitrous, any kind of power adder application, the Molly coating seems to come off the rings, and the rings lose their seal to the bore. So I really wanted to avoid that on this motor. We're going to push this thing real hard, 36 pounds of boost or so probably. Whatever it takes to make the power. And when I started putting this combination together, the car started out, it's an 87 IROC Z. It was a G92 code car. If anybody knows what that means, 87 G92 wasn't as special as like 91, 92. But G92 car had a different rear gear in it. Tune Port 305 was this car. G92 option car. 7-speaker, 8-speaker Bose sound system in it for the factory. It's a Cars and Concepts T-top car. It's a cool car. It really is a cool car. And here, we got to pay attention here, guys. Where's that little nipple at? There's a little dot right there on that ring. Yeah, you can see it right there. That indicates up. And just like our instructions say, dot forward facing, second compression ring, 180 degrees from the top compression ring. But really cool car. It was a roller, had a trans in it. I think it didn't have 5th gear is what the guy told me when I bought it off of. He bought it, and the 305 tune port motor was locked up, and he put a oh damn it, he put a little hot 327 in it that he put together real quick, and put the car together. Just to put the car together and get pissed off when he went out and test drove it and realized it didn't have 5th gear. So he yanked his 327 back out of it with an attitude. Now we're going to get up here so you guys can see my face while I'm talking to you. Yanked the 327 out of it all pissed off and said fuck it. And he pushed the car in the back of the field behind his shop. And oil expander ring gap is supposed to be from here to here. So we're going to put that baby right in the center. We're going to spiral that guy on there. It's not a brittle first or second ring. Pretty soft, flexible little turd there. But he parked it and it sat back there, and then the rails for that, top and bottom rails, go opposite. That car sat there for 9 years. He had that car, and he just never did nothing with it. And I went and picked the car up relatively cheap, $200 actually. He just wanted to see it go to a good home. Gave me a bunch of crap with the car, stuff that I told him. I said, dude, I'm not going to use this stuff. I'm just going to sell it. And he's like, I just want it out of the barn. So really nice guy. Friesen Fab in Plain City is the name of their business. They sell trailers. I think they sell Hustler or Husky or some. There's a zero turn that they sell and service there. They're a dealer for. They make their own trailers there. I'm pretty sure they got some pretty sweet trailers. They're also a fab shop. So if you need anything and you're in this central Ohio location, Friesen Fab in Plain City get you taken care of on that kind of stuff. As the owner's kid, I bought the car off. A pretty cool guy. His name's Daryl. Me and him talk pretty much whenever I have an update about the car. He's always asking me because he wants to go for a ride in it when it's done. So, but I originally started this project with an 84 Z28, which was originally an L69 305HO car, which I have a thing for L69 cars. But I originally was going to put that car together with a 5.3 and a Nitrous Express. Is it Nitrous Outlet? I think it's Nitrous Outlet. Nitrous Outlet makes the puck. We're going to put a Nitrous Outlet puck system in it. And, I mean, I had a factory dual snorkel air cleaner set up for this thing. We're going to put the puck in it underneath the manifold. I was going to put dual snorkel air cleaner on it. And I was going to run the nitrous lines into the cowl and hide the solenoids in the cowl underneath the wiper transmission. Make this thing look like it was a carbureted. It was going to have a carburetor on it, by the way. But make it look like it was just a small block Chevy. You can buy adapters to put small block Chevy valve covers on. Oh, I need to put rod bearing in this. I'm distracted because I'm talking to you guys. You can buy adapters to put small block Chevy valve covers on an LS. I mean, we're gonna do everything we could to make it look like a small block Chevy, like a little 305, and we're gonna put a nitrous outlet puck on it, and we're just gonna spray the piss out of it. And wherever it got us is where it got us. 10-second streetcar is what we're hoping for. When we started this thing out, that quickly evolved into a supercharged 5.3 liter. I got like a little small spot of rust right there I need to clean up. Go over here and get some sandy paper. Got a small spot of rust over here. Right here where this rod's been sitting around. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off there. I can just feel it with my finger, and I don't want it to give me any fits. A little piece of, what is this, 220? I think it's 220. That cleaned right up. I'll blow it off with some air and I'll show it to you guys. Just a little stain right there. Nice and smooth. You got these two grooves right here. Tab on the bearing. I like to set that as flush as I can to the rod, so I'm not scooching this bearing around in there. Get that bad boy in there. Same thing with this side. Of course. Why not? Wouldn't do that if I wasn't recording. Since I'm recording it, we're going to make this look like a sloppy mechanic video. We're just throwing shit around and throwing shit together. I usually use Napa number 10. It's like a white grease. I wanted to try out this Ultra Slick Permatex stuff this go around. So we're going to put a little bit of that here on this upper rod bearing half. Little dot. Get our guy off there. Pepper it around a little bit. That's just my preferred way to do it. I know a lot of guys that just put a little stream on there, and then when they clamp it down, it squishes. So what we're going to do when we come over here now, make sure the dot on the face of our piston is facing forward toward the water pump. Okay. Go ahead and check our rings one last time. Make sure everything's still sitting where it should be. Alright. I'm going to set this thing in the bore like so. Get my ring compressor here. No fancy tapered ring compressor. Oop. Missing steps again. I'm going to lubricate this bad boy. I got some AMS oil. We're an AMS oil dealer, by the way. If you need any AMS oil, let us know. NNF Performance in North Lewisburg is an AMS oil distributor. Central Ohio streets can get you hooked up with some AMS oil. You know, I used to be a Mobil 1 and a Lucas guy. I buy Lucas all the time and Mobil 1 for all my stuff. I was a Lucas guy forever, and then I bought my first LS car when I was 21 years old. It was a 99 Z28. I bought it off the original owner. He bought it brand new from Jack Maxson Chevrolet here in Ohio. It was a pretty nice car. Had 227,000 original miles on it, and it said Jack Maxson Chevrolet, coincidentally $27,000 and change to the mileage. I gave a guy $3,000 for a car. Had a decent amount of work done too. It was a good car, and he ran Mobil 1 in that car from the day it was new. And I'm gonna put a ring compressor on here. Down past the rings quite a ways, leave a little bit of skirt hanging out the bottom. So we got something to get some lined up in the cylinder bore. Or tighten this guy down. You don't want to kill this thing, you just want to snug it up. Oop. Got our piston in there, and then good old flooring hammer. Get the ring compressor sitting on the deck of the block. Got piston a couple taps, get it moving. You want to give it a nice solid hit. That way the rings, you don't so especially with a cheaper universal ring compressor like this, you can run into issues where when you go to put that bad boy down in there, what'll happen is this will pop off the block some, and that top compression ring will sneak its way out of there, and then it gets stuck on the block. So once you get that thing moving, you just want to go ahead and give it a nice little confident smack and get that piston down in there before it can sneak on you. So you don't have any problems. Man, am I glad to be done filing piston rings. I can't even begin to express to you guys. Shit, you seen how long it took me to do one. I mean, I'm distracted talking and jabbering and, you know, trying to multitask here, but see how long it took me to get one done. Imagine doing all 8 of them. A little bit of a process here. We got our lower rod cap. We're going to put a little bit of happy stuff. Well, let's go in here. We're going to line our piston up first. So I'm going to put my head flashlight on. We're going to put our fingers on top of this piston. And it's pretty much already lined up. It's funny how it fell in there like that. That worked out pretty all right. I had issues with a bunch of them when I was putting this thing together originally. Hitting them too hard and knocking the freaking upper bearing half out. We did put ARP bolts in this thing. Mike at M&M hooked us up with those. He called me and asked. I wasn't originally going to do it. I was going to let it ride with stock rod bolts. Really not a whole lot of failures out there on the rod bolt side, as much as people think they need rod bolts. But I went ahead and opted to, you know, better safe than sorry. I want this thing to be as reliable as it can be. If I end up hurting it, I want it to be because I missed the tune-up. So, all right, get a nice little score for that shit on there. I'm gonna grab our ARP Molly paste. Woo! Almost knocked the camera over there. I have an actual camera. I'm filming this with my cell phone. I need to get the actual camera, some batteries in it, and an SD card in it. Start using it, and then I can get cable and upload content on my computer in the office here at the shop. I'll probably put a little bit more of this stuff on here than what you really need to. But I know I put more on there than Mike did when he torqued them and checked them. So now, Mike was generous enough. These are cracked rod caps, okay? See how they look like they're broken? That's what's called cracked, all right? So some rod caps are machined and they have like a dowel or whatever that lines them up. Okay, these are cracked. These grooves always match the grooves on the rod. Or, like Mike, labeled these cylinder 7. He labeled all the numbers, and 7 is on the same side of the rod, each side, and the little casting number, whatever they got there, 299 on this 5.3 Gen 4 rod, stamped in right there, also lines up with itself on the other guy. So, we're going to go ahead and slide our bolts in here. ARP bolts. Grab my DeWalt. We're going to make this guy happen here real quick. Get everything lined up in its happy place here. Start these by hand. Once we get them threaded in, we'll ease our life here. This is the last one, and I've got everything out of the motor, so I really could have flipped this over. Made my life a little easier. I just want to bottom those out. I don't want the hammer hitting on my tool or nothing. So, I was hoping I had a crank pulley laying around here somewhere so I could rotate this thing over easier. So what we're going to do now, we're spin this bad boy over and we're going to torque all these rod bolts down. You can hear my, need a fish out. I dropped, there it is. I dropped my damn tool for my piston ring compressor down in there. Get that guy out of there real quick. And I believe I got the directions right here from ARP. Chevy Gen 3 LS engines. Small block. If you do not have a stretch gauge, I'd like you, the preferred method would be a stretch gauge, and you got stretched bolts 55 to 60 thousandths of an inch. If you don't have a stretch gauge, bolts 40 foot-pounds using an ARP Ultra Torque fastener assembly lubricant, which we did. So what we're going to do here, I even got a beautiful little baggie of it here that I didn't have to use because I got a container of it from other stuff I put together. Get my torque wrench out here. We're going to start torquing these bad boys down. Somebody used this torque wrench and didn't clean it. That was really nice of them. I'm going to start locking my box and putting a sign out sheet on it. My techs need to borrow tools, they can sign them out. Alright, where's my DeWalt? Turn this bad boy on. Set the torque on it. .40 foot-pounds. Grab me a paint marker here. I'll mark these so I know I torqued them. Mark those now. I torque those guys now. Need to rotate this thing over. You can judge me if you want for using channel locks, I don't care. .40 on the nose, buddy. I know I already did all the mains, so I'll go ahead and mark those. Did those when I put the crank in. These are stock main bolts. I didn't have this block line board. I didn't put ARP hardware in the bottom end. There's plenty of stock bottom end LS stuff making the power I'm going to be making or more. There's guys, I think the 4.8 world record right now is like 474. Of course, it's in a Fox body. Well, last I knew the record was like 474. Of course, it's in a Fox body. That was a 4.8. We're not trying, I don't think we're going to go that fast. But not with the weight of the car. Well, the car, that's what's nice about the Cavalier. Since we adopted that project, we're able to get a lot more aggressive with this Camaro than what we initially intended to do. Because I was still going to street drive this car quite a bit. Not saying that won't happen. But now that I have a car that has AC in it, has heat, I take the back seat in and out of that car. It comes and goes. Depending on what I'm doing, if I'm going to have the kids with me or not. It's kind of nice being able to have that option. The kids like riding it. They think the race car's cool. That's what they, you know, they're riding the race car. But what the Cavalier allowed us to do, the Cavalier allowed us to have a fast street car. And then this car we can focus more on making this car more competitive. Like I said, I started out building this car. I started out as a 10-second nitrous injected 5.3. And that turned into, I ditched that idea and trying to make it all retro, small block looking. I threw that in the garbage, and we decided to go blower. We had a TVS 1900 blower for it at one point, and got rid of the blower. And we had a GME rod harness. I mean, I had enough stuff to put the car together to make it go. The 84 car was just so rough that it wasn't worth. It got to a point where on the 84, I pulled the plug on the project. And bought this 87 over here that's sitting 10 feet in front of me because the car is so much cleaner. So I could get a better start because I had a solid 200 hours worth of metal work to do to that 84. Go ahead and torque both these and we'll mark them both. That's that. Started out as 10-second nitrous car. Turned into a 9-second probably TVS car. That turned into me backpedaling a little bit, not wanting to get too crazy with the car and paying attention to my budget. Okay, I only got to torque it once. I want to make sure. All right. That's exciting stuff there. That buttons the bottom end up. That's amazing. That turned into... we're going to flip this girl back over and we're going to oil the cylinders up. All right, for the 13th time. Started out as a nitrous 5.3 10-second car. That turned into wanting a blower. So we got a blower set up. I worked at the dealer at the time. We got one off of a CTSV. That came in that had the rattle and the coupler in it. Back when those were all over eBay for $600. And then we... I'm going to rotate this up a little more and see if I can do a couple of these over here at the same time. Yep, it's Argan. Got rid of the blower set up. Ended up selling it because I didn't want to make too much power and then need a big boy rear end and all this stuff. I was just like, I just want a nice street car, And, so we got rid of all that stuff. Sold GME rod harness to a guy in Colorado who needed it for emissions. And all this happy stuff, and then we sold the 5.3, and we bought a seized up LS1 that came out of my buddy's Camaro. And, you know, it had 2 rebuilds on it, and it was 68,000 mile car that it came out of. We ended up with that, got it freed up, took it apart, ran a hone through it. I really wasn't happy with what the cylinders looked like. In hindsight, I really probably should have just said fuck it and sent it and put together an all-motor LS1 and maybe sprayed it a little bit into the tins or whatever and enjoyed it. But that turned into wanting to competitively race this car on small tire. And that turned into we were going to build a 441-inch Darton mid-sleeved LS1, and it was going to be a nitrous injected motor. Now what else I started quickly realizing was that I didn't have $25,000 for short block. So that quickly came to a head, and what we ended up doing was we ended up selling the LS1 block to a guy, and then at that point we decided, fuck it, we're going to do what every single other asshole does. We were trying to be different there for a minute and do something cool. We're going to do what every other dingleberry does, and we're going to put together a turbo stock bottom end 5.3. We want to competitively race the car. What's the quickest and easiest, cheapest way to get there? To have a car that runs low 5s, high 4s in the 8th mile. And that was this. So, I started out just wanting a low 8-second car. I thought it would be competitive. I might win a race every now and then, depending on who's there. And then that turned into this deal here. So this deal give you the whole entire lowdown on this combination here. Stock bottom end Gen 4, ARP rod bolts, street filled block. It's an iron block. I painted it silver just because it'll look nice in the engine bay. Wasn't trying to fool anybody and make them think it's aluminum. Joke's on me because it's 90 pounds heavier, right? 89, 90, something like that. So, I got a hold of Cam Motion. Cam Motion spec the camshaft for me. Low lash solid roller. I wanted the solid roller cam, so do good up top. There's guys going plenty fast on hydraulic camshafts, and I have to do a solid. I wanted to do solid. What's the specs on that? I got the cam card right here. Where's my cam card at? Cam Motion. 115 degree lobe separation angle plus 5. It's got 5 degree Vance ground in the camshaft. Okay. Intake side. 233 degrees of duration. The exhaust side is 241 degrees of duration. If I recall correctly, he told me I'd shift this motor 7,500 to 8,000 RPM. Here's a picture of the cam card for anybody who's curious. Pause the video and read all the specs. That might seem kind of small to guys that are used to reading hydraulic roller stuff, but a solid cam, it takes a solid. There's no travel in the lifters, so you get every thousandth of that lift. On a hydraulic camshaft, the lifter has wiggle room in it, we'll say, so you lose some of that. So it takes a larger hydraulic cam to be the same size as a solid cam, if that makes sense. So low lash solid roller means we won't be messing with it as much. I won't have valve covers off of it as much. I won't have to do valve adjustments on it as much. Now, the first few times we run it and race it, we're going to check it a bunch and make sure, hey, this thing's consistent. Stays pretty tight. We don't need to adjust valves, but once every 15 passes or 20 passes or 10 passes or how many ever passes, you know, based on how much we street drive a car too, 'cause I'm going to street drive a car. But yeah, so what we're going to do now, I'm gonna go get the camshaft and stuff, and we're gonna fucking put a camshaft in this boy, and then we're gonna Yeah, I'm gonna go get some parts and get some parts over here. We need to check the time too. I'm gonna get some parts over here, and we're gonna start putting more bottom end stuff together here real quick. And then after we do that, we'll take a little tour of the car. So I'll be right back. All right, now we're gonna set a camshaft in this bad boy. Cool, man. Cam Motion puts a little thing on the back of the camshaft here. Wipes some of this oil off here so you can see it. Cam Motion grind on the cam. Low lash 233, 241. 115 degree lobe separation angle plus 5 degrees advanced. That's in the back side of the cam where the camshaft position sensor goes. We'll get this bad boy dug out of here. I am fucking excited. I got a couple of buddies who have been on my ass because I keep working on that Cavalier instead of this car. And they'll be excited to see this video. And look at them lobe profiles, man. Sick. Fucking sick. Alright, let's put some... Well, let's get my camshaft tool on here first. I have this little small Chevy camshaft tool. It works. Only 2 to 3 bolts line up with the holes. But it definitely helps. Pretty sure these thread in here. Hell yeah, they do. Enough anyway. I probably have cam bolts laying up here. I don't fucking know. Just throw a bolt in there real quick, huh? Alright, let's get some assembly lube on this bad boy. Start sliding her on in the hole there. Damn thing, move, camera mount. Okay. Hopefully I don't get in the way too much here. You know what, I'm just going to put engine oil on this bad boy. Be a little easier on me, and I don't think the motor cares. Go ahead and do the first 2. This thing's ready to rock and roll. Super careful here, make sure not to nick any cam bearings. See some guys install their cam shafts and they're complete savage about it. Just knocking that thing all over the place, beating cam bearings to death, especially in an engine like an LS. Or half the time you tear them apart and cam bearings are waxed anyway. Let's leave that last one up right there. Man, check that out. That's exciting. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. Put a cam in a new motor is just, I don't know, does something for a man. Let's go over here and check my bolts. Rear cover, timing cover, oil pan, windage tray, valley cover. Okay, Cody. What did you do? Well, you know what? Oop, there's new bolts for that guy in there. That's pretty sweet. You always want to make sure, guys, on these LS's. I'll show you this little deal here. This little cam retainer plate, okay? There's two ports right here. There's one here, and there's one here, okay? And that's where you can install wooden dowels or the specialty tools or whatever to hold your lifters up. Spin the camshaft over, pushes the lifters in the trays. Slide your tools in there, holds the lifters up, pull the camshaft out, leave the heads on, they don't drop in the pan. Okay? Well, this little cover here, guys. This little cover is your cam retainer plate, okay? I don't know why it looks like that. I'll have to clean it. It's brand new out of the package. Okay? Got some lube around here too. There's a seal on here, alright? And that seal seals off these two holes, and it's machined here between these two holes. Those two pockets are actually where oil feeds through to feed the lifters. When you don't put a new one of these plates on here, and that O-ring isn't nice and fat like that, it's all flat and smashed, oil will leak past here and you'll have an oil pressure issue. So let's go ahead and clean that guy real quick here. Little red rag action. You know what? I bet I threw the timing bolts away because I bet my timing chain has a nice new set of bolts in it. All right. This is a Fel-Pro that we got here. Has anti-galling compound on the threads here, which is nice. Keep my last one out so I can see what size Torx bit that is. Nope. It's not a 45. It's a 40. All right. Go ahead and get a 3/8 ratchet here and make sure those feel good. Not just trusting the wall here. Okay. Looky there. I don't have the rear cover on right now, so we'll push that camshaft forward. Spins real nice. Get our closed timing chain set out here. Last one I put together, I put a double roller in. This one I opted for a single. Single row, single roller. I've used the Summit Racing billet roller sets before and had a amazing luck with them. What's nice with the Summit Racing, this one even comes with a little thrust bearing that goes behind the, between the, oh, it's even an AC Delco, look at that. Goes between the, yep, don't go in there that way. Goes between the cam gear and the thrust plate. Okay, let's read our directions here. 3-way crank sprocket. Okay, so we got a square, a circle, and a triangle. For the factory specified time, use a 0 mark on the crank sprocket as a factory keyway shown above. Okay. Alright, that's cool. So we got multiple different keyway slots. You can see this one's triangular shaped. That one's more rounded. And this one's straight up square, okay? So it says, it's a retard to use the square. Factory key's the rounded one and the advanced is a triangular one. So we're going to go factory. Okay, that goes like this. Cool. That would advance and retard time by 2 degrees. Cool. And it indeed did not come with camshaft bolts. So we're going to have to get some of those bad boys. Just going to drive that bad boy on there. Oh. That Dana axle nut socket for the win. Let's wipe the inside that bad boy out, because he usually works on front diffs. On there. That works. Now the hex drive. Cool deal. That sucks. That's fucking stupid. Can't see the mark on the crank with that bad boy on there. That's real cool. Good design there, boys. Oh yeah, I can just see it. Pretty sure that's it. Let's find out, huh? Alright guys, I forgot to finish filming the rest of this video as I screwed with the crank drive gear for the timing chain and stuff of that nature. As soon as I slid the oil pump drive on there, it covered up the dot on the gear to where I was supposed to line them up. So I had to actually get something in there, and I kind of marred up the oil pump drive a little bit, so I'm going to have to doctor it up. But to pull it back away from the timing gear so I could see the mark and get the camshaft in time. So forgot to film the end of that deal. So make a little exit lewd here, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm new to all this stuff. But so this is the little ending. We got the camshaft in, timing and everything, and it's a complete short block. I keep forgetting to order an oil pump for it, and you get an oil pump for it, and I can completely put it together. Oil pan, pickup tube. I can check the pickup tube depth in the pan. So you're going to do is put like a piece of clay or something in the bottom of the pan where the pickup tube is going to sit, or put it on the pickup tube. That way you know it's going to hit the pan. Put the pan on there and tighten it up a little bit and pull it back off. You want about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of the pan. Any tighter than that, and you start running into issues of not getting enough oil. Any more than that, you run into problems of sucking the pan dry or getting the pan down far enough. The oil's not coming back quick enough from top to where you start sucking air. So we need to check that, get the pickup installed, get the pan on it, get the front and rear covers on it, and I need to figure out what I'm doing with the cylinder heads. I'd really like to put a nice set of heads on this thing. The cam was spec'd for a set of Texas Speed PRC 2.5 706s. I have the 706s. They're boxed up and ready to ship, actually, with all the valve train hardware in the boxes. We originally had that paid for and ready to rock and roll, and it had been a few weeks and I hadn't shipped them out yet. We bought this shop that we're in, and you know, this was I was expecting to find a place to rent. I wasn't expecting to be able to purchase anything, so I didn't have money put back for some big fat down payment on a building like this. And then, you know, this arose, and I needed money, and I refunded my $1,000 cylinder head purchase and pulled some other strings to get the money I needed to make this happen. So and expand our business. So I need to make a decision on what I'm doing with cylinder heads. I might put a set of aftermarkets on it, but we'll see. This is the end of the video, guys. I appreciate you watching.